Um, Hello. Welcome, everyone, to Therapy Break.
Well, you see it on the
Inspire Me. This one is going to be a combo because we're both talking to a Parkinson's advocate, a Parkinson's support group leader, an all-around inspirational guy, Brian Reedy. But we're going to talk also about a specific tool that he uses and, you know, kind of the power of laughter, and more specifically, laughter yoga, and how he uses it for dealing with some Parkinson's symptoms. So thank you so much for joining us. Here where I sit in Arizona, it's lunch hour, but I see we have people joining from all over the country. So welcome. I'll start with a brief introduction. My name's Andrea Merriam. I work for PMD Alliance. We're the organization that's so excited to put on this NeuroLife online program. And all of our online programs, we want them to be interactive. We want to be out there in your living room or in your library, or I think it looks like someone's in their garage or their workshop. We're trying to, you know, use the power of the internet and technology and all come together in this virtual space. So I encourage everyone to participate, to interact. There's a few ways you can do that. There's a chat function, so you can type a question in either to me or to Brian privately, or if you choose everyone, then the whole group will see it. We'll also, Rebecca, could you wave? Rebecca is our online, what should we call you? She's our tech guru, so she manages muting and unmuting people, and we like to keep her on her toes because it's a fine balance of making sure two people aren't talking at the same time. But we do, you know, we want you to be able to ask your question and you know, say hi and hear your voice. So if you have a comment or a question, you know, you can raise your hand or wave at us. And Rebecca there is our online traffic controller. Maybe that's what I'll call you. So she'll be in charge of muting or unmuting, so we can walk that fine line and participate with each other. So let's see, it is past the noon hour, so I'll go ahead and get started. And while I have this nice bio all about you, Brian, could you introduce yourself? Could you tell us all about yourself, Brian?
Oh, ouch. I'm not sure where to really begin. I guess I should start where I got symptoms of Parkinson's showing, and I'll try to keep it brief so you can get to your stuff. But I was a high school teacher for 20 years, and probably about 5 with Parkinson's. But I had a car accident that brought on the Parkinson's. So I had a genetic predisposition, and then the accident was one of the environmental factors that kicked it in. So I was rear-ended while I was stopped waiting to turn left by a car that was coming up behind me doing 60 miles an hour and never hit their brakes until they hit me, because it was around a blind corner. And so that kind of began the symptoms. Once I was diagnosed, and that took a few years because the first neurologist who saw me said, well, you have all the classic signs of Parkinson's, but you're too young. You're 48, and that's, you know, if you were about 70, I'd say you have it. So it took a while to get diagnosed. And once we got it diagnosed, I really didn't want to read the internet and learn about Parkinson's from there. So we went to conferences to learn about things. And we went to a young onset conference, Parkinson's conference in Irvine, California. And it's amazing because that first conference we went to back in 2011, I made 3 of the best friends that we have now in the Parkinson's world. And many people have heard of John and Edna Ball and Stephen DeWitt. And they guided us to so many more conferences. So we went to World Parkinson's conferences. We went to Davis Finney conferences. And the Davis Finney one actually is what started me to become more of an advocate, because I finally saw that there are ways to do better things with your Parkinson's than just go downhill like I had been doing. They were talking about living well and doing these challenging exercises, and the books I was finding on Parkinson's weren't getting me there. And I didn't really know how to do that until I found a physical therapist here in town who actually knew LSVT, but she also knew some other maneuvers like rock steady boxing and stuff. And so that's Nina Rutan. Her name changed. She got married, so I always have to remember that. But she turned it around and got me more physically active, because before I saw her, I was almost going to a wheelchair. I was on a walker and a cane. My wife was talking about getting a chair that elevates you up to get you out moving. And since all of that began, I started picking up walking 2 miles a day at a speed walk, like a march, and did swimming therapy, and just got very active. And I actually started building things around the house, and built a chicken coop and built a shed. And, you know, my life just took off in ways that I hadn't imagined until I really learned that Parkinson's isn't just about the medications. Parkinson's is about actively trying to make your life better and living well and finding choices that make you a better person with the adversities you face. And then meeting others with Parkinson's, you start to share more stories and you learn things that work. And so that really then made me feel like now I need to become an advocate, because everything I've learned has turned me around and turned my life around. And so in 2017, my wife, Lily, and I became leaders of our Parkinson's support group here in Carson City. And it was passed over from the VA in Reno. And so that helped that we had a start of a group. So I think we had about a dozen people, and now we're up to, usually we get about 30 in attendance, and we have about 100 on our mailing list. And it's exciting because we get people that come in and don't know what to do. And so many of the others, now having the group for 2 years, just really partner up and help these people grow and go to places and learn things. So so that's kind of the nutshell quick thing of how I've come about to where I am now.
Okay, thanks. I know that's the hard task, to tell someone to tell their story and put themselves in a nutshell. I think
well, I'm a nutty guy anyway.
Of, you know, yeah. When and you said you're a retired teacher. What kind of teacher?
I started out as an English teacher, and I did theater, and then I moved to. So that was in Montana. Then I moved to Carson City, and I did English and computer literacy for years. And then I started up a video production class, and we actually had a full studio where we had 3 rooms. So we had all the control room in one end, and then the talent and the cameras in the others, and then the classroom. And the kids were just amazing. They won all kinds of awards and national awards. We used to have senators come in and get interviewed, and just amazing things. And then I was also a photography teacher. I was very technological though, and I was an Adobe education leader because I used Adobe software, and they heard about the things my kids were doing. And so I'd go around the country and I'd teach other teachers and students how to use Adobe software. And now I'm technologically challenged. I've lost all that with Parkinson's.
I've seen your website. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
But so Brian, you mentioned, and I've met you in person and seen you walking around. So the fact that you were ready to go to a wheelchair, to those almost very extreme mobility options is shocking to me. What about the non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's? Sometimes those are a little bit more hidden. How have those affected you?
Well, those have been very challenging. And those were the things that I was really glad I started to go to those conferences and learn, because I didn't realize what the non-motor, and I still have trouble remembering a lot of them, but I know it's the depression, It's the, I can't remember if swallowing issues is part of it, but the temperature regulation, I have issues with that. I need a little help here. What else? Cognitive. Oh yeah, the cognitive and GI problems. Yeah, the cognitive is really what took me out of the classroom, because in a classroom you have to be able to really multitask, even though they say multitasking isn't a real thing. It is in the sense of having multiple focus. So I could pay attention to the students asking me questions, be aware of the kids with problems with the printers and kids goofing off and announcements coming over the PA. I could handle all of that. And that was really one of my greatest strengths. And that went away with Parkinson's, and I could no longer manage the classroom. But I think right now the biggest challenge I see is with the depression issues. And that's something that I'm really glad to see more people talking about and trying to raise awareness on, because it's not necessarily our own doing. It's the disease itself, and it's changing the chemicals in the brain. So I think that's some of the non-motor ones that I've been trying to deal with.
Before your diagnosis, did you ever experience depression? I mean, and how do you know that it's depression?
Well, and that's a really good question, because sometimes, I know last year when I went into one of the worst depressions I had, I didn't realize I was in it until I was getting out of it. Because I think you go into it so slowly, you don't kind of see it, and it just goes down and down and down. But yeah, no, before Parkinson's, I don't really recall having depression issues. I knew I was, sometimes I would struggle with things in the sense of being overwhelmed. And so I would go see a psychologist because I would have health issues. Years ago, I got toxic mold poisoning and I ended up in the hospital with pneumonia. And then there was a whole bunch of stress going on at work because people were fighting over who could do what with technology. And, you know, sometimes teachers can be proprietary. And so it was a stressful time, but I didn't honestly feel, and looking back with what I know now about depression, I don't think any of that was depression. It was more just trying to sort through pressure. So no, until Parkinson's, I really never knew what depression was.
And I think that's an important way of explaining it, that it slowly builds, and it's not, I think the motor symptoms sometimes can be so obvious that depression creeps up, and it was, you know, you said it wasn't until you were out of it that you know, looking over your shoulder and say, oh wow, that's what that was. And that kind of brings us to a topic that I know, you know, that we wanted to have you talk about. I know that it has been an important tool in your toolbox since your diagnosis, and that's laughter, laugh yoga, laugh therapy. Could you tell us a little bit about, you know, how did you even learn about this, and, you know, just the genesis of laughter and laugh therapy, you know, in your life? Sure.
And this is one of those great things about going to conferences on Parkinson's and educating yourself. So our friends John and Edna Ball and Stephen DeWitt introduced us to the World Parkinson's Congress that they have every 3 years. And so in 2013, it was in Montreal. So we went up there, and, you know, you're filling out your list of all the things you're going to do, and you want to learn so much, and you're seeing all these pretty heavy topics, but it's like, this is cool, this is great. And then I saw laughter yoga taught by a guy named Peter Davison. And I thought, wow, that's going to be fun. That's going to be different. That'll not be so headstrong. You know, we can loosen up a little bit in there. And so we walk in there, and Peter's this really nice, tall, good looking guy up there. And he's kind of got this strong presence in the room. And he just puts on this clown nose and starts laughing. And you're like, what the heck? And then he kind of explained a little bit about how laughter yoga, or just laughter therapy, gets your adrenaline going, but it gets endorphins going, and it gets dopamine going. So it's kind of some of the same effects that we'll get from our medication, but we get it free. And so we go through this whole class, and we did this for about 40 minutes with just laughing. And I just felt so exhilarated at the end of the class. And my wife was there, and my wife was just kind of like, do we really have to go to this? And she felt the same way at the end. It's like, wow, this is amazing. So it's kind of embarrassing to want to walk in there. And it's like, oh, I don't know, this is going to be weird. And it was just amazing. So that's never left me. And I used a lot of the laughter yoga exercises, icebreakers in my classroom when I was still teaching, because I still taught for another 1.5 years after that exposure to it. And then when I started doing the support group, I brought it in there. But I was just, again, doing it mostly as icebreakers. And I've done it at conferences. We had a Davis Phinney Victory Summit up here in Reno last March. And I was asked to do that as a warm-up for the audience, and it's fantastic. It just really gets people going in a good mood. And I want to talk about how I use it in the Sidekicks program in a bit, so don't let me forget that. But I want to kind of get to your question about using it and dealing with Parkinson's. I get a lot of pain with my Parkinson's. And so I've been doing bike work. We've got recumbent trikes, and my wife and I will go for bike rides for 20 miles a day or something sometimes. And she said, well, we got to get stronger, because she wanted to do Ragbri, which is where you ride across Iowa on your bikes, and you do it in 7 days. And so we were going to be doing that with the Pedal for Parkinson's group. And so she said we should get a Peloton so we could work out. And if you guys don't know what a Peloton is, it's basically one of those bikes that on a stand type thing that you ride, but it's got a class in front of you, and there's instructors, and they're telling you what to do, and they're telling you to stand up at this point and get this rotation RPM going and stuff. And oh my gosh. So they said stand up and ride, and that's why I have a recumbent, because my posture isn't real strong. And so I'm doing this, and it's just painful. And she says, we're just doing it for 30 seconds. And it seemed like 30 seconds went by in like 5 minutes. It was really bad. So the next time she said stand up, I did it for about 5 seconds, and I'm just thinking, this is taking forever. So I started doing laughter yoga while I'm pedaling. My wife is outside the room. She's like, what the heck is going on? But I'm just going, ha, 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 hee, 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 ho, 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 as I'm pedaling. Now my mind is no longer on, is it 30 seconds yet? And it's also getting more endorphins flowing, and just lifted me up. And it's like, oh, wow, that's over already? So it's something that I've found as a tool that really helps me personally. So it's something I love to share with other people, because it lets them see that this is a benefit to your life, and can help us deal with depression, can help us deal with pain, can help us deal with Parkinson's, can help us as care partners understand that we can let go and really get some freeing effect. So I'm not sure if I strayed or if I answered your question exactly, or.
No, absolutely. I think you answered my next 2 questions too. Would you give 2 thumbs up to Laugh Yoga?
Well, if I had to, yeah, but I lost one with an accident because people with Parkinson's.
Could you told me this great story about and I love the concrete example of you using it to get through your spin class, climb. But I was so impressed that could you tell us a little bit about the injury, and then specifically how for something serious like a very serious injury like that, you used something not so serious and you laughed your way through it.
Yeah, I think with adversity, my wife and I sometimes give talks on dealing positively, thinking positive and being positive in the face of adversity. So people with Parkinson's, I've learned the hard way, really should not be using power tools. So it took 3 accidents to get it through my head. So first time with the nail gun, I shot a 3.5-inch nail into my thigh. The next time I nearly cut off my middle finger, but it was a dull blade, so I still have no feeling on the top half of my middle finger. And most people were thinking he should stop doing it. But I just had this passion because it's what replaced in my heart something that I felt good about doing when I lost teaching. So I was building a roof to our pool deck so we could do solar heating, and using a miter saw, and I was cutting a 12-inch piece of wood, and it caught in the blade with a knot, and it sucked the wood through, and my hand went with it, and it cut my thumb pretty severely. So I grabbed it and I held onto it. We called 911. They came out. They rushed me in an ambulance up to Reno, 30 miles away, so that they could reapply it. But they had a talk with me right before the surgery, and they said, with your Parkinson's and the fact that you're a little older, your recovery is going to be much more difficult. You're going to have multiple surgeries, a lot of therapy for months, and the use you'll get is maybe nominal. So we decided, I looked at my wife and she just gave me that encouraging look, you know, whatever you want. And I said, okay, we'll take it off. So I'm coming through in recovery, and they had done a nerve block to help with the pain, but the nerve block itself had been hurting, and I had breathing difficulties because something with the intubation. And so I looked around the recovery room, and there's nobody in there. There's nobody in front of me, nobody to the side. And the nurse came up from behind and she says, okay, I'm giving you this, this, and that and stuff. And then she left. And so I'm feeling this difficulty breathing, and I'm feeling this pain, and I'm just like, okay, I've got to get my head out of this space. I've got to get to a more positive place. Heck, nobody's around. I'm just going to start doing laughter yoga. So I started doing the ha 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 hee ho, and I did it for about 5 minutes because it was feeling better, and I was breathing better, and I thought I was alone, so it was fine. And then the nurse came back in, and she checked things and said, oh, you're doing fine. And then she went over, and I could hear all these other people talking, and they were just further off to the side out of my peripheral view. I'm just thinking they're probably asking her, hey, can I have whatever he's got? But it helped. It helped me manage the pain. It helps with my breathing. It's just really a magnificent tool in so many levels.
Wow. Well, I
Yeah.
love that's a I love it that you use it for everything. Very serious situation. You were in the hospital, you know, facing amputation. You're just in your spin class trying to get up that hill, and laughter helps. I want to take this chance to open it up to the audience and see if anyone has, I don't know, their own anecdote or their own experience of a time, you know, whether it's when was last time you just laughed really hard and just cracked up and, you know, felt what we've been talking about, how the power that maybe that little dopamine infusion, or I don't know, is anyone out there a full laugh yoga, you know, practitioner, and is this something that you've heard of or taken a class or experienced? You can either unmute yourself and share, or we can, if you wave, we can help you unmute yourself. So who's up? Or if you just want to unmute yourself and start cracking up, I think, Brian, we could go with that too.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
This is John and Edna Ball in Whittier, California.
Oh, ears ringing? We were just talking about you.
Brian.
Hi, Edna.
So I don't know where our camera is, but in any case, wait, John's adjusting. In any case,
We're looking at your ceiling.
yeah, exactly. So we,
Oh, there you are.
Lily. So we, as you said, we met you at that young onset. And it was like been one of the best meetings of our lives. We love you dearly. And we were really, really glad to be part of your evolving into becoming part of the Parkinson's community. It means a lot to us, and we really admire everything you're doing. You guys are the best.
Oh, we love you right back, Edna.
I want to see it on your other thumb. There you go. That's about it. Love you guys.
You laugh all the time, though. Edna is always cracking us up.
Oh, if you get Edna, if you get the four of us all together, it's just craziness.
Yeah, and that's the good part of it. That's the best part of it.
Yes.
All right, you guys,
Doctor's
proud of you.
medicine.
Well, and as I spoke earlier about learning how exercise benefits, John Ball is, I think, the master of proving exercise benefits Parkinson's. He's had it for over 35 years, and he still runs marathons. And John, how many full marathons have you run?
I've finished at least 25 of them.
With Parkinson's, all of them with Parkinson's.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So he's the one who really helped me move forward in the sense of being more physical with Parkinson's and understanding that that's going to be the best way to manage it. That the drugs are just going to give you something, but it's your movement, and then that keeps your mind fresh, and that keeps some of the non-motor things a little more at bay.
Okay.
There you are. Hi, John.
Hi.
Oh.
We're gonna go eat lunch now.
I thought you were going to say you're going to go for a run.
Tomorrow.
We had a question about, frequency of exercise and, how often you exercise. So I don't know if you want to handle that one, Brian.
Well, actually,
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Ed and I exercised this morning. We have a trainer that comes to the house 2 days a week, and we put in as much work as possible, just trying to stay fit, trying to stay ready for life.
Yeah, and John has the LA Marathon coming up. He's going to do the half marathon. Is it this year, John?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right on.
And that's coming up in, what, March?
March.
Yeah. So, yeah, and myself, I try to, when I'm at my best, I do stuff every day. But right now I'm at my worst. So I'm doing about twice a week. I've just lost my momentum because we're dealing a lot with struggles with my wife's health, and I've let that kind of bring me down. So I'm working to pick it up. So I don't want to lie and say, oh yeah, I'm doing great. No, I'm probably at the worst I've been as far as a workout regimen. And that's why I'm excited that I started back up the laughter yoga classes. We're doing them full time now, where we do a 40-minute session. And we just did our first one a couple days ago, and that went great. But yeah, working out is so important, and working out at least 3 times a week, I think, is essential. And yeah, I'm doing rock steady boxing every week. That's one of my 2 things a week. Rock steady boxing is absolutely awesome.
We had a question that came through the chat about Tai Chi. Anyone ever tried Tai Chi?
I've seen it demonstrated, but I've never been to a class for it. So I've seen it at workshops.
Seems really good for balance.
It seems great for balance. Yeah, my wife is saying it seems good for balance. Has anybody in the group here had experience with it? I'd love to hear it.
Me too. I know we have one of our staff members is a Qigong practitioner, but I don't think Robin's on. I know they're, similar, very great for balance. And let's see. So we had a question about does laughter yoga have specific steps? I heard Brian do the hee ha ha. Is it just laugh and breaking up laughter, or are there steps that you take?
That's a great question. So when you're doing it just as icebreakers, there's no steps. But when you're doing it as a real class, there's definite steps. First thing we do is we stretch every body part. So we have people take their arms out and first flex their wrists, and then their elbows, and then their shoulders. Our goal is to move every joint. And that's really good for Parkinson's, because that's where our Parkinson's is usually at our toughest. So like the neck and all that. So we do a head to body kind of stretching. And then we do some breathing. And we'll just do, breath in, bend over, breath out. And then we'll do the same thing, but we'll do it with laughter. And what laughter does is it's actually part of the mechanics of the deeper breathing. It lets you get more into the diaphragm. and you get diaphragmatic breathing. And that's where you're getting the much better breath that's going to clean your system out a little bit more. And it's also going to get more of your endorphins going. And it'll get your adrenaline pumping when you do it for a longer period of time. So yeah, it's a slow process. And then we also do stuff with clapping. The doctor who started this, and I'm going to get this first name wrong, but something like Madan Kataria, and he started in 1995 in India. And he was studying laughter is the best medicine. And he had read the book by Norman Cousins. And if any of you recall Norman Cousins, he was a journalist who in the 70s got this bad disease from Africa. I can't remember the name of it, but the doctors could do nothing for him and he was just going downhill. And he decided to just get a bunch, he had always heard the phrase, laughter is the best medicine. He decided to get a bunch of the old comic movies, Laurel and Hardy, Marx Brothers, all that kind of stuff. And he just sat in his hotel room and he watched them and he laughed and laughed and laughed continuously. And months later, they said he was cured. And so Dr. Kataria was studying that and trying to see if this really worked. So he grabbed 5 of his friends. They went to a park in Mumbai. And they started telling each other jokes every day for half an hour for 2 weeks. Well, after a while, the jokes got old or they didn't have anything new and they couldn't find a way to keep the laughter going. So Dr. Kataria hit the books again and he found that fake laughter is as real as effective as real laughter, that the body still draws the endorphins up, the brain can't tell the difference. So he told everybody, let's just start doing some fake laughter and see what happens. Well, if you've ever been to a room with a lot of people laughing, it's hard not to laugh. It becomes contagious very quickly. So the phrase that they use in laughter yoga is fake it till you make it. So by doing these, after we've done the stretching, the breathing, and then we start doing the exercises, we'll do something really silly like, okay, you're a pirate and you're drinking a big, well, with the kids, they say you're drinking a big frothy root beer. With the adults, I'll say you're drinking a big beer and you're giving a big hearty pirate laugh and you'll go, and so now go around to each of your neighbors and give them a big hearty laugh before you drink your stein. And so they go around the room and within seconds, it's fake laughter that's become so real and so contagious and the room gets louder with it. And it lifts your spirit. It's just so much. But I think I'm straying too much from the original question, but I think I answered it.
No, absolutely. I know when we talked before, we said that part of it is being in person, and when you're sitting next to someone laughing, that you laugh. I saw Rafia. I think I saw you pretend to do a pirate laugh there when Brian was talking about that. Brian, what do you think? We could try, yeah, all in our own homes to do a silly laugh and see if it works?
Yeah, let's unmute everybody.
Okay, Rebecca, let's unmute everyone. And what's the
so I combine the coaching with.
Well, and sometimes if I have trouble getting started, I have my little friend Elmo help me. Anyway, so I'll get us started. So let's do the rowdy pirate one. So you go. Now everybody follow. Drink that Now every camera I can see, everybody is smiling. That's how this stuff works.
All of you who have your cameras off, you should turn your cameras on and join in the fun. My cheeks I feel my cheek muscles working.
Yeah. And your stomachs are turning, yeah. Okay, let's try it again if more people want to turn their cameras on.
Yeah, don't be shy. Turn your camera on.
But you got to get them towards your face. I'm seeing clouds. So the way I sometimes start the stretches is we go ha ha ha, he he, ho ho ho, and we'll do it like at our throat is ha ha ha. The chest is he, and then the hips will be ho ho ho. So it's ha ha ha, he, ho ho ho. So everybody go ha ha ha, he, ho ho ho, 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 ha ha ha, he, ho ho ho.
I think the hips are my favorite.
Oh, there's so many fun things. There's hundreds of these exercises. So they have them like you're filling up a pie to throw at somebody with whipped cream. So as you're pouring out the whipped cream, you laugh. You go ha 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 ha, and as it builds up, you get a little higher. So and then you go to throw it, and you go ha ha. So it's all these great things with the little, animation of the thing you're doing that makes it really cool, and far more interactive. And a really good example, and I can show you pictures of it. We did this with the Davis Finney in Lundbeck Sidekicks program. And I had just thought of this on my side, so it wasn't part of the curriculum. But when we walked into the room, and this program is designed to get intergenerational mixture. So you've got the older people with Parkinson's, and you've got these young kids, and for us it was Girl Scouts. So they're like 12, 13 years old. And when they came into the room, the Parkinson's people just kind of grabbed all the tables, and there were like 2 or 3 of them, 4 or 5 at each table. The Girl Scouts came in, they just like, I'm not going to sit with those guys. And so they're all in the corner. They're all really quiet and shy, and they're bunched up together, and they're all in the corner. And I had said, you guys can come in and sit down, and before it started, and they're just, and they didn't. So we started with this laughter yoga, and actually, let's see if I can I grab and show my desktop?
Yeah, if you hit share screen, the green box at the bottom.
And, okay, so is my screen showing?
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, so we're doing the laughter yoga. So this is everybody just getting started. The fat bald guy, that's me. And we're doing these things like laughing like a chicken, just ha 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 ha. But you can see how in this first picture here, actually, see how all the Girl Scouts are to one side and all the adults are to the other side? And then we start mixing them up, and you start seeing the joy in them. And this is where they're doing cell phone laughter. So they're hearing something on their phone, and they're laughing, and then they share it with the person they're talking to. And so now they're interacting with the people with Parkinson's, and they're getting to know each other. And my wife had the genius idea of, well, then let's have them pick their own partners, have the person with Parkinson's pick their partner, because they're the kind of ones who are like, I don't talk to kids. I don't know how to deal with kids. So we did all these exercises, and then they picked their own kids, and the bond they had was absolutely amazing. They ended up, my wife also had the idea of, let's have them write something personal on their diplomas at the end of the event. So here we did this at the beginning of every session, and there's 4 sessions in Sidekicks. And they just get more and more animated if you see it through the pictures there. So then at the end, they wrote on their diplomas things that they liked about the person, or they wrote a comment about it. And as you look at these, let's see if I can get in close, they're writing things about how much fun that person was. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. And it's also the curriculum that's driving this. It's not just the laughter yoga, but the laughter yoga got them open to experiencing each other. I love how so many of them are writing about happy and fun, because I think it just had that at the very beginning. So amazing, funny, happy. Terry is kind, funny, and awesome. So I think the laughter yoga just really helped engage everybody into the whole process of then getting to know each other. I mean, you just see these comments, and I just can't help but feel that helped with it quite a bit.
It's like a great way to build connection and break the ice.
And yeah, do it quickly.
I read that you know, children laugh like exponentially more per day than adults.
Yes.
So you were meeting them in their territory, huh?
Yeah, there's different studies. Somebody said they laughed hundreds of times more, and some say it's like just 20 times more, but definitely they laugh with greater ease than we do. Yeah, and it built on that. And the really amazing thing was when it came time for because we did 2 sessions a day, and so we had a lunch in between. When it came time for their lunch, they could go anywhere in the building we were at, and we had extra tables, so if they wanted to, all the Girl Scouts could sit together and do their thing. They stayed with the person that they were working with the whole time. They wouldn't separate. So it was really just absolutely amazing. And I really do credit Laughter Yoga with breaking the ice, and then just a tremendous curriculum from there.
Nice.
And I know, Andrea, you said you're going to be doing sidekicks soon. If any of you have an opportunity to get sidekicks in your community, that's the way to get the community familiar with Parkinson's, and that we're not some odd beasts to look at in the restaurant and kind of feel uncomfortable about, but that we're just regular human beings. And it's just a fantastic program.
Very nice. Yeah, and maybe, I know you said on your website you have, you know, some links both to Laughter Yoga resources and you know, maybe some of the Davis Finney programs or sidekicks or what have you. So could you share that website address?
Yeah, it's Care Living for All. So CARE and living, and then the number 4, and then all.com. So carelivingforall.com. And on there I have somebody just wrote it in. Rebecca just put it in on the chat thing. On there I have a link to Peter Davison's website. He's no longer still doing Laughter Yoga teaching, but he has a free book that I use that is Laughter Yoga for Parkinson's. So any of you who have support groups and want to use it, you can download this manual. And honestly, if you just Google Laughter Yoga exercises, you'll see a bunch of YouTube videos, or you'll see books that come out. On my website, though, I've linked some of the best ones. I have a Laughter Yoga guide that a group, I think in Laguna Beach, did, where they have pictures to go along with it. And it's just, so yeah, by all means, check out the website I have and then go on from there.
Great. And while we have Brian here, anyone have questions for him? You can go ahead and unmute yourself, or if you wait, then we can have Rebecca unmute you and chime in. I see all the residual smiles still. I think that brief little practice of Laughter Yoga, you know, I at least am still smiling from that.
Yeah, if nobody has questions, I'll write comments that people wrote about the session that we just did on Tuesday. One person just wrote to me this morning about it, and she says, once everyone became engaged, you could not stop yourself from laughing. I'm looking around the room during one of the routines. There was absolutely no frowning faces. She says, personally, for me, the laughter, the smiles lifted any stress I was feeling. And this is a woman whose husband recently had a stroke, and she is taking care of him. She has Parkinson's, and she's taking care of her 95-year-old mother. And she's working full-time for the Nevada state government. She says, my body became light with all the laughter and body movements. I found it to be so beneficial in so many different ways. The benefit of walking around with other folks and sharing in their laughter provided that connection that one may not have when sitting in a meeting classroom style. And then she added, my brother was visiting from out of town, and when I shared with him what our meeting was about and showed him one of the routines, he could not stop laughing. It was definitely contagious.
I think it's a testament that we're not in the same room. We're in our houses, staring at our devices, yet it was infectious even across the airwaves, you know, using through our webcams and all that. That really speaks a lot to just the human desire to laugh, and we're pre-programmed to that. So tap into that, and and then let that rush of brain chemicals, do good in the body. There was a question that came from Sheila in Tucson. Well, she said that your communication today is so seamless. I would agree. And she wonders if you credit laughter yoga with this ability. And then she wanted to know how long you've been diagnosed.
So I've been diagnosed 10 years. And I would definitely credit laughter yoga to it. And also the fact that I'm back in physical therapy and doing rock steady boxing. When I started rock steady boxing up again 3 weeks ago, I hadn't done it for 6 months, and I broke down crying after 20 minutes. And I do not cry easily at all. But when I saw how bad I was in my movement, it shook me. And so my physical therapist and the future rock steady boxing visits got that back. So I would say it was laughter yoga, it's rock steady boxing, and it's a therapist who kicks my butt. And yeah, my wife says my voice gets softer at night, so the laughter yoga and the exercise stuff helps.
How much time we got left anyway?
Well, I think if you are okay with it, so first of all, I'll say thank you for opening up about depression. We talked about that a little bit as kind of one of the things that prompted you to look into additional therapies and treatments that pushed you to exercise. And I know it's something that's not talked about as much. And thank you for sharing this very practical, very pragmatic. I mean, you don't need any tools to just, start laughing. Something everyone can do without a car, without a fancy class or whatnot. And if you are okay with it, maybe we could close out today's session with one more, little laughter exercise. What do you guys think? And maybe our audience out here could turn on their cameras so we can benefit from everyone's smiling face. And I'll give you one Zoom tip. In the right-hand corner, you can either choose speaker view or gallery view. And if you choose gallery view, then there's all these Hollywood Squares boxes or, Brady Bunch boxes, so you can see the most amount of faces as possible. And as Brain leads us in this last one, then you'll be able to see everyone laughing. And the way Zoom works, whoever's the loudest, their box takes over. But we'll go for it. And I think if Becky's still on, she was winning who was the loudest laugher last time. But maybe if we make it a competition, we'll see who else can try to be a louder laugher and outlaugh Becky Branham there. So what do you think, Brian? You have one more exercise for us to give it a go?
Sure, I do. I also want to I just noticed that you mentioned Beverly, Yuma Bev. She's one of the first people that actually taught me about laughter. We met her when we did the conference that we met John and Edna at in Irvine, California. And I've seen her at a number, I think she's an ambassador with you guys now. But she's written books about laughter and Parkinson's, right?
She has an amazing blog that, I think hundreds of thousands of people read. And if you don't know which one she is, she's the one in the bunny ears.
With the bunny ears there.
Just in time for Halloween and the bunny ears.
Okay, so we're going to put on our laughter hats.
Oh, nice. Oh, I don't have anything, but.
Okay, well, Bev got me started. She did the bunny ears. So we're going to do what's called a graduated laugh. So we're going to start out just like it's just inside you. You don't want to let it out. And then slowly you let it out little by little until it becomes really loud. So I'll give a little quick example. It's like. And it grows and grows and gets really big. Okay? So let's all start just really small at snicker. You can't get it out of your mouth.
No. I just said we're gonna go.
Did you feel that in your gut?
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Thumbs up, or 1.5 thumbs up.
Try it every day. I guarantee you'll feel better.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for indulging us and turning on your camera and unmuting yourself and letting us hear your peal of laughter. And thank you, Brian, for sharing a little bit about your story and leading us in practicing this. Everyone, Bev put the website for her blog there, and lots of great jokes on there. So you can maybe try some of the techniques that Brian did, check out his website, check out some laughs on Yuma Bev's website. And yeah, thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you for all that you guys do. I just can't say enough about PMD Alliance and how you guys just keep opening new things. And it's a website to keep your eye on, folks, because they've got so many things going on. And if you're leading a support group, they have the best training ever for how to do a Parkinson's support group. And it's free. You just have to get there. And they'll even pay for your hotel. So by all means.
Yeah, come join us. And
we did it, and we did it 2 years ago, and it helped us tremendously.
Yeah, it's a hoot. We laugh a lot. Can you tell?
Yeah. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you everyone for joining us. Bye now.